Welcome, everybody. This is SharePoint Patterns and Practices webcast, and this time we're going to talk about the BMP Tenant Templates, and this is how would I put it? This is an evolution on the BMP provisioning templates, which has existed now for quite a few years, like 3 to 4 years already. And now we're growing that engine and the BMP provisioning engine to support more and more capabilities to align the future of SharePoint Online as well. My name is Lasse Juvonen. I'm a senior program manager from SharePoint Engineering, and with me today as the primary demo man and the creator of the BMP Tenant Templates, or the primary creator. One of the creators. Let's put it that way.
One of the creators, yes. Yeah.
Or the father of the engine, or the BMP PowerShell, is the Erwin van Hoonen. So, Erwin, will you do the quick intros as well?
Yeah. Hi, I am Erwin. I work as a product manager at Rancor, where I focus mainly on modernization, transformation, those kind of topics. Yeah. And that's me.
Yeah, we've been creating.
As you said, I've been building PnP PowerShell for now, I don't know how long.
Quite a long time, yes. Indeed.
Yeah.
So Erwin was the #1 guy when we started the BMP initiative, first internally in Microsoft, and Erwin was the first external person. And you were not an MVP at the time, so but you got an MVP as part of the process of getting into the team, which is actually kind of funny. That's a long story short, but in this time we're going to talk about now the evolution of the BMP provisioning engine, basically. And we did had a early version, or first version out already in October 2018 version of this one, but there will be some changes on that, and more stuff will be supported in the future as well. But let me actually go on the following slide. So what is the BMP Tenant Template? So classic BMP provisioning engine has supported provisioning of elements in a site level. So basically, technically within your PowerShell or your code, you were requested to create a site or a subsite or a site collection, and then you apply the template on top of that site. So there is an existing site. So we never actually supported creation of hierarchies or creation of sites and site collections and tenant level configurations. To be precise, we support some of that stuff slightly during this year, but now we're kind of embracing the tenant level provisioning logic, and we support provisioning of all of the elements, basically, which has an API available in the tenant level. And like mentioned, now you can actually define what site collections are getting created, or what subsites in the site collections are getting created whenever a template is being applied. This means then that you have one PnP file, which is the BMP provisioning template, or tenant provisioning. What do we call them? Tenant template. One file, anyway, exactly. One file, which actually inside of the BMP file, it can contain the SPFx file, SharePoint Framework Solution. It can contain the existing templates, which you might have already created, the BMP provisioning templates. It can create instructions of creating site collections and subsites and hub sites and all of that stuff, and then activating the solution and putting the web parts on a welcome page of sites and all of that. So with the one file, which I can send, as an example, today, Erwin can create the file, send it to me, use the BMP PowerShell as an example or code to apply that site to my tenant, and we will get at exactly the same end result. And that's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it, actually? It
is. And one thing I would like to point out is, like, when we introduced this, some people asked me, so why did you wait so long to actually start create site collections? Because that was a request that was there for almost day one. Oh, yes. We always had to explain that you have to first create the site collection and then you apply the template. But the main provider, or not the enabler that we can do this right now, is actually modern sites.
Sure.
All site collections, classic site collections, they can take up to like 15 minutes, sometimes longer, to be created, where these ones are created in seconds. And that's the reason the engine is now able to create a few site collections actually in a couple of seconds, and then apply those templates to it. And that's why we started now to implement this.
Sure. True, and this is also a side result of the project which we did and still are building, which is the SharePoint Starter Kit. So we wanted to make the SharePoint Starter Kit installation as simple as possible. And how do we make it as simple as possible? Well, we'll simplify the process and steps which are needed to install a template to your tenant. So we'll add absolutely the Starter Kit. it's an awesome example of this Starter Kit reference on the video notes as well. So we kind of mentioned this one already, but what are the things what are now supported by the PnP Tenant Templates? And this is the status in October 2018. So it might be, depending on when you're watching the video, there might be additional things available. But at the moment, we're still concentrating on the SharePoint side, and we'll come back on that one slightly later. But you're able to define what kind of site collections should be created, what would be the URL of those site collections which are created as whenever the template is being applied. You can create subsites inside of the site collection. You can set an existing site to be a hub site. Basically, it's a root site of a site collection which is set to be a hub site. So you're able to automate that one using the template as well. You're able to provision tenant themes. So these are the modern tenant themes for SharePoint Online. You're able to provision SharePoint Framework solution to the app catalog. So you're able to basically, inside of your template, you can have the SPFx file, which is then adding the customization to the app catalog, and also obviously using the site level provisioning, you can set the web parts and extensions and everything else available on the site level as well. So you can fully automate the deployment. And that's part of the classic, let's say, PnP site templates, whatever we call them, provisioning templates, at least in the past. So now you can technically have, again, one PnP file which creates you the whole solution automatically just by executing as a few lines of code or PnP PowerShell. And that sounds amazing. So let's actually have a look on this one in practice. So let's jump on Irvin's screen. Yes. And then we'll come back on the closing of the webcast in a second.
So what you're looking at here is actually the Starter Kit XML. So for this demo, I will take the Starter Kit XML and I will talk you briefly through what is in this XML. And if you're familiar with the PnP provisioning engine, you might recognize things because, yeah, it is just a next iteration of the schema. And in this case, it's the July 2018 schema where we support what you're looking at. And
now,
a couple of
Irvin,
things.
Before you go there, a few things, just for those who might be watching first time and seeing what is a PnP template. Why is it XML? Why is it YAML, JSON? What is this? What are we actually watching? Just for giving some context.
Right. Okay. So why is it not JSON? That is a long debate, long story. We picked XML at the time, and we thought it was, for instance, we are reusing things from Classic, and it's much easier to copy the Classic elements from Classic features. I shall not mention the word feature anymore, but feature XML, you could actually copy that easily into this template, and that is the reason we went for XML at the time and not JSON. What you're looking at is a declarative file, a file where we, in a declarative manner, define what you want to do in a site collection, which lists you want to create, which site collections you want to create, which content types you want to create, which fields, etc., etc. That is basically what you're looking at.
Cool.
So you can compare it, if you like, an old school SharePoint developer, you can compare it a bit with an ONET XML, if I dare to make that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. So if you are familiar with the PnP provisioning engine, as I said, you might recognize this. But there's a couple of things that actually are different here. For instance, we allow you now to set web API permissions. So if your SPFx solutions require certain web API permissions, you can code that one in your template and we will approve them for you. Or effectively, it's you approving it because you apply the template. It's your identity approving these API permission requests. But to go a bit down, I was going to scroll a bit down and don't want to go into much detail here. This is actually the a very interesting part now that we introduced, and that's what we call a sequence. And with the sequence, you can define which site collections are to be created, of which type, and you can define which template to apply to those site collections. You see here, for instance, that let me see if I can actually format it a bit in a bit more readable way. If actually Visual Studio allows me to do that. It allows me to format, but it's not formatting it in a sort of readable way. So I will have to scroll a bit to the right to show you the properties here. You see that we create a site collection, we apply a theme, we set a site design on that site collection, we apply a site design to that site collection, and we specify the URL, if it's a hub site, yes or no, who's the owner, etc. And then when the site collection is created, we apply this template, but we also apply another template. So you can actually apply multiple templates. Where are these templates located? The provisioning template reference. They are actually located in the same XML file, but a bit more down in the structure. Here we create another site collection, which is a team site. The first one you see is a communication site here. This is a team site. And we apply the collab template and we apply the logo template for the HR side. So here, this is the human resources side we're creating, and here we're creating the marketing side, which applies the same template. So we share a template between those two site collections, but each of the sites has a different logo. So we made another small template that actually sets the logo of those sites. So this is basically what you can do in the sequence. And now you can, if you want, create subsites. And subsites in subsites, and subsites in subsites in subsites. If you feel that there's a structure that is working for you, you can absolutely do that. Yeah. So there's no limitation to the number of site collections you want to create, and the engine will work its way through the sequence, create a site collection, find a template, apply the template to it. Then if we scroll a bit back up here, you see that we also provide site scripts and site designs that we upload. We even allow you to upload an SPPKG file. And in this case, it's the SharePoint Starter Kit SPPKG file, the SPFx solution that is actually packaged into that PnP file. And I'll show you that in a minute on how you can actually do that yourself, how you can package one of those files. And that's basically
there's some themes as well.
There are some themes as well, indeed.
So tenant level themes.
This is something we also recently introduced. So here you can, wonderful. We actually embed JSON in an XML file here. Yeah. But yeah, so be it. So here we have the themes that we provide. So and we throughout the starter kit we use these things called tokens. Which is a concept in the PnP provisioning engine. Where does it get this value from? If we scroll all the way up, you see that there's a parameter here being company, and it by default to Contoso Electronics. You can override that at application time. You specify your own values. So you could say like, my company or whatever you want to put in there. Yeah. So these tokens are then automatically replaced with the actual value. So we create themes, we create site designs, and they're all happening on tenant level effectively. Site designs and themes are tenant scoped artifacts. Then we provide a whole bunch of terms into your taxonomy, your term set, or term set and term group. We create that because some of the web parts make use of customizations. Yeah. Yes. Make use of them. And then here we start with the templates. And I will not dive into all the nitty-gritty details of these templates because they're basically standard PnP provisioning templates. But we have a bunch of templates here. We have a provisioning template called the footer links template. We have the root template. We have the collab template for the team sites, and here we have the logo templates, and they're actually the simplest ones in the whole starter kit. This basically the only thing we do is we set the site logo to this image or set the site logo to that image. But this allows you.
Quick note when you're looking on if you're looking into the logo templates, as part of these logo templates, you don't actually upload the file. That's being uploaded by using the collab template, right? The logo file.
Correct. Actually, no. Depending on the site, if it's a modern site, the file will not be uploaded to the site itself. We will use an API that tell SharePoint or actually, tell Office 365, listen, this is the group logo for this specific team site, which has a connected Office 365 group behind the scenes. It ends up in the site assets, but that's actually the server handling that. We're not uploading it to a location.
But point being on the fact anyway that you're able to include content, images, documents, whatever needed in the template level as well.
Everything you want. Yeah. So this is the Starter Kit XML file. But as Vesa mentioned already during the slides, there is we package everything into this PnP file. So everything, the XML, but also all the support files, the logos, the SPPKG file, everything is actually located in this PnP file. You see this file is a bit bigger than the XML file, obviously. So where does it get those files from? Well, those files are actually located in the Starter Kit repository. So if I go to that Starter Kit repository, you will see that there is a provisioning folder in there. And let me remove this file, which is not relevant. Here you see the Starter Kit XML file. And we see this resources folder here. And in the Starter Kit XML file, we refer to all kinds of resources that are located in that resources folder. So you see here, there's like resource files for localization. These are the 2 site designs. We have an images folder. The Starter Kit contains a PowerPoint presentation, which is located in the documents folder, etc., etc., etc. So how do you package everything now together? Now, I'll show you a commandlet to do that. Now, in the October 28 release, we released PnP PowerShell with support for these tenant templates. The commandlets were called differently, though. We decided to rename them. The old commandlets still work. They're just basically aliases for the new ones. So currently, if you want to package this XML file into a PnP file, you will first have to read in this XML file. So if I read, say, read PnP Tenant Template, it must path, and I say Starter Kit XML. So now it's actually loading that file into this variable. You see here, if I just output the contents, you see this is the whole Starter Kit. You see this,
and it also validated the file. It did a schema checking, everything else.
It did a schema check. If something in the file was wrong, it would have never loaded it correctly. You would get a nice, or you can say almost ugly, PowerShell error there.
Yeah.
So you see the sequence here. You can actually dive into that sequence if you want to. You see all the templates in here. So the whole structure of that template is here. And now, in order to save it, is actually saying save PnP Tenant Template. It wants a reference to that file, and they say now in this case we call it demo.pnp, and press enter. It's processed the template. It finds all those references to all the package files, the JSON files, the resource files, or any other file that you refer to. And it will take a bit. It's not too long, actually. And in the end, when it's done, you see the image files come here. Now it's done. In the end, there is my demo PnP file. And this is everything in one file. There's nothing else that I need to distribute. I can give this single file to someone else, and all the files that the template refers to are located in that file. Now, to give you an idea, what's happening actually in that file is that if I open this file, for instance, with an zipper, an unzip tool, or a WinZip, or 7-zip in my case, what you're looking at, the PnP file, is an Office Open XML file, which is a standard file. It's the same file format effectively as a docx file for Word or an XLX file for Excel. And everything that is located is in this provisioning template folder. Or sorry, here you see, let me go back one up first to the files. Here are all the files. Now they're not really recognizable. That has to do with the fact that there can be a folder structure. And we solve it by actually renaming all the file names to easy to understand GWTs.
Unique names, yes, indeed.
Very unique names. Everyone gets a 100% unique file name, especially if you say, I'm uploading document1.docx to folder X, and I also uploading document1 to docx to folder Z. Then there's 2 documents with the same name. They would have conflicts here. So that's why we rename everything to a GWT. And then in the provisioning template, there's a files map file. And if I open that one and it refuses to open it, can I see open inside? That should work. No, it doesn't. Well, it actually is complaining about the fact that Visual Studio Code is already running here. So let's close Visual Studio Code and open.
There we go.
There we go. You see that here, so this GWT XML file maps to demo XML. This package maps to that file, etc., etc., etc. So this is how the internal, actually, it works in that PnP file. So if you're missing something, it could be a way for opening it up with a 7-zip or zipper, any zipper, unzipper, and have a look inside and say like, okay, are all my files there? Did I make a mistake in my references and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So back to the file. Now, given the fact that you have this template, how do you apply this template? It couldn't be easier. Let's say apply PnP provisioning hierarchy is the old one, and tenant template is the new one. And then you say demo PnP. And that's all there is to it. And then the engine will kick in. Now I'm not connected to a site. Now I can connect to a site here. It does not matter to which site collection you connect. Keep that in mind. If you apply the old provisioning template to a site, you apply that template to that specific site that you connected to. But because the tenant templates, the name gives it away, are applied to your tenant, we just need a connection to your tenant. We will figure out behind the scenes the correct URLs to connect to your tenant administration, that kind of stuff. But so it doesn't matter which URL you connect to, as long as you connect to a site. So in this case, I connected to the demo site. And if I say apply PnP for tenant template, and I say, let's take the Starter Kit PNP. And there's a couple of other parameters you can say. You can specify the sequence ID if you want to apply a specific sequence. Now, when I said there were these parameters that you could overwrite, it's like, but by default, it creates site collections in the format of Contoso HR, Contoso Marketing, and Contoso
Portal. Yeah.
Yeah. So you will have to overwrite a parameter, and one of them is the site URL prefix. If you look in the XML file, you notice that there's a parameter called site URL prefix. That is the little part that we put in front of that URL. So /sites, then it's site URL prefix, and then it's HR, marketing, or portal. So to overwrite that, you specify site URL prefix equals PnP demo, for instance. This same way, you can also say my company equals my company, etc., etc., etc. So this is a way of overriding the parameters. Press enter, and you see that the engine is being initialized, and it will check if the site collections are already there. And if the site collections are there, it will reuse those site collections. So that's a nice way of testing things. What it will also do, it will check if this solution has already been installed. And if it has been installed, it will not reinstall it. Keep in mind that we actually behind the scenes check the hash value of the hash code of the solutions. If the solution that you installing is newer than the one already installed, we will update the existing one. Otherwise, we will just simply skip it. Now it goes for the web API permissions, and then you say it does the site scripts, it does the themes, and soon it will start to create site collections because PnP demo is a prefix I've never used. And there you say creating communication site, and you see PnP demo portal. It starts to create site collections, etc. Now this will take a while. I don't think we'll have to wait for that. But this is in principle how the tenant templates work. It's basically the next iteration. You could almost call it V2 of the provisioning engine, where we take this, that little step further.
Yeah, indeed. Now, that's a good mark on going back on the slides. So let me actually flip back on the slides because we talk about the future of these templates as well. And just confirming, you can see what I'm sharing.
Yes, I can.
Cool. So what is then the roadmap? And this is the BMP templates have been concentrating more on the SharePoint level now, but otherwise we're looking into actually increasing the BMP Tenant Templates to the broader set of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 capabilities now, which will then give you opportunities of automating, for example, Microsoft Teams API stuff, or let's say Microsoft Flow or Power App support whenever the API support is available from them. So there are there's a development happening in all of these teams to have more administrative APIs and kind of a tenant level control APIs available. And whenever those APIs are available, we can actually start using those APIs in the PnP Tenant Templates. And we also then accept pull requests and improvements on the templating model at that point.
Yep.
And from a positioning perspective, the PnP templates are kind of moving more and more to the tenant level provisioning because we have now the site designs and site scripts in the site specific provisioning. So if you're creating a modern site in a SharePoint Online, it's worthwhile to use a site designs and site script for your customizations because it's faster and more aligned on the future of SharePoint Online if possible. So there are certain limitations still in the site designs and site scripts, which you can overcome by using the PnP site templates or the provisioning templates.
I want to say, though, they catch up nicely.
They do, yes.
They're working hard, and you see wonderful new functionality popping up all the time in site designs and site scripts.
True.
So, yeah.
And so basically, in the future, you'll then use the PnP tenant templates for getting the site scripts and site designs, or already today, getting the site designs and site scripts available in the tenant for end users. So basically, site designs and site script is the end user capability. But if you want to automate getting those provisioned to the tenants, you can easily use the PnP tenant templates to do that, like we do in the SharePoint Starter Kit as an example.
Sorry, actually, you should have mentioned that during my demo, but there's one thing important to understand, that is you need to be tenant administrator in order to be able to apply a tenant template.
Yeah.
It makes sense if you think about it, because we're provisioning things at tenant level, but keep in mind that you actually need to be tenant administrator. You need, for instance, if you, for instance, provision terms to your term store, you need to be able to write to that term store.
Yes.
Keep it in mind that you need to
which requires that you explicitly need to have an administrative permission to the term store, because by default, as a tenant administrator, you actually don't have permissions to write to the term store, which is slightly misleading though, but it is SharePoint Online. So there are this good example of a small thing which we as an engineering we should fix, but hey, those are the good things to keep in mind. Yeah, cool. Anything else? What from a roadmap perspective, what do we want to actually mention?
No. I'm looking forward to adding those other capabilities in the future. I think we have a great future ahead.
Absolutely. And then you are able to then automate the across the whole Office 365. So you have one template, and you're able to easily do pre-production dev provisioning in some level, and dev tenant provisioning, pre-production, production provisioning, or just use the templating engine for setting you the basic stuff and the basic or demo sites with a demo content as an example, which is relatively easily doable with the templating model. And obviously, maybe one question which we didn't touch on the demo. So the PnP provisioning templates, the site level provisioning templates, they do support extracting the template from a live site.
Yes.
Do we support similar kind of stuff on a tenant level templates?
No.
Would be the logical question.
We don't.
Yes. And there's a clear logical reason why we don't actually support them, because how would you define what are the sites and site collections and elements which you would extract from the existing tenant? So
exactly.
So you're able to basically extract. You're able to extract individual templates from a site level. Then you would put them on the tenant template XML, include them, copy paste, include them on the XML structure. Then you define the site collections and site themes and whatever you need to actually get done. But you can't extract those from a live site because it would be unmanageable. It really isn't suitable model.
No. By the way, just to tell you, if you don't feel that too comfortable with XML, I didn't demo it because it goes a bit beyond the scope of this video. But there are commandlets that actually help you to build up the whole tenant template by using PowerShell commandlets. So you can create a sequence, add a site to a sequence, add a template to your tenant template, etc., etc., etc. And then it basically builds up this object, and then you can save that as an XML or as a PnP file. That's up to you. So there are command lists there for you to dive into and have a look at it if you feel more comfortable doing it like that.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Excellent. But I think that's it for this one. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll come up with a new webcast sooner or later. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.